Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Chtib Zhang Show, episode 21. As always, this episode is brought to you by Hot Streak Fantasy, the best in-play fantasy app on the market. Pick 2-3 players in the NBA while you're watching your favorite teams and watch them make you some money. Hot Streak is matching your initial deposit as a bonus. So get Hot Streak Fantasy app now. Eric, we keep talking about it every episode.
Yep.
Hot Streak Fantasy, super easy, quick, it's simple.
Yep.
You know, you bet on NBA players, their points or whatever, rebounds, blah, blah, blah. You try and bet if they're going to go over or there's going to be like a number, right? A number or anything like that.
But it's only for points. It's only for points, and you make money pretty quick. It's the playoffs right now. It's even more interesting in the playoffs for sure. So
for sure.
Definitely a call.
Yeah, definitely check it out and download Hot Streak Fantasy app and get it started. But in this episode, we are talking about the NHL playoffs. We're going to give our reaction so far into the series. We're going to be talking about the NBA playoffs that just started. And, of course, we're going to be talking about the Juilo Jones situation in Atlanta. But first, as always, roll it! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Chtib Zhang Show. It is episode 21. Eric, in today's episode, we are giving our reactions to the NHL playoffs. We'll be talking a little NBA and, of course, Juilo Jones. Eric, let's get into the episode. The NHL playoffs are, of course, underway already. There's already been series that have concluded. We'll give our reactions to some of them. We'll give our reactions to some of the series that are going on presently that are still not finished. So let's start with the finished series. Of course, there was 2 sweeps so far in the NHL playoffs. Let's start, of course, with the Avs and the St. Louis Blues. The Colorado Avalanche easily handled the St. Louis Blues in 4 games, 4-0, after Ryan O'Reilly said that they were going to beat the Avalanche and they're going to have fun doing it. Eric, obviously, poor choice of words by Ryan O'Reilly, the St. Louis Blues captain, as the Avalanche pretty much easily handle the St. Louis Blues. Eric, I mean, I could start off giving my thoughts. Yeah, this was pretty much a mismatch going into it.
100%, yeah.
I mean, we talked about it before. Jordan Binnington for the St. Louis Blues, he hadn't played his best season so far, and that was definitely a question mark. But, of course, I mean, the Avs, too high-powered offense. The defense was there. I mean, the goaltending was there. I mean, that was just simply a team that the Blues couldn't beat, right?
For sure. No, the Avs, we talked about it. Like, they're so deep, like, on offense. Like, I love watching the Avs, to be honest. Like, they're so fun to watch so quickly. They have so many good players. But Ryan O'Reilly, like, he just caught up in his emotions. Like, he crashed into Timmy's. Like, he was pissed. He wanted his revenge, but he didn't get it. So that's what happens. Fuck.
Yeah, for sure. The Blues coach, Berube, actually said that the calls were pretty much one-sided in favor of the Avs. He said it's a joke. It's not even funny at this point. I mean, you could take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah. I watched a couple. Yeah, I watched a couple of the games. I'll be honest, like, they're getting outplayed anyways. If you look at all the statistics, like, maybe like the refs might have one of them won, like, but they're getting beat anyways. Like, it was obvious. You can just tell by the game. It's a sweep. Like, you can't even blame them on the refs when it's a sweep, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. The St. Louis Blues, the point differential between the Avs and the Blues was huge. Of course, the Blues they were battling the Arizona Coyotes for the 4th spot, and they made it in. But the Avs, of course, they're a Stanley Cup contender. So I didn't think this series would go for a sweep. I didn't think it was going to be 4-0.
Exactly, yeah.
I thought this was actually be a pretty competitive series, knowing the Blues and their history with winning the Stanley Cup, and pretty much that same team coming back from that cup team. But I guess the Avs, they literally just got better. With additions of Brandon Saad and Devon Tays and all that. And of course, that first line with Landeskog, Ranton, and McKinnon is just too good to handle. So, I mean, there's not much to talk about this series. It's pretty clear cut, in my opinion. The series I really want to dive into, of course, which was another sweep, was the Winnipeg and Edmonton series.
Yeah.
Big surprise. I'm literally shocked right now. Winnipeg sweeps the Edmonton Oilers in 4 games. I mean, Eric, I don't know. I think we both had Edmonton in this series.
Yeah, we both had Edmonton.
We both had Edmonton, and this was funny because during the regular season, it's like if Winnipeg was hiding their playbook until the playoffs on how to handle McDavid and Draisaitl. It's like Paul Maurice never left the Jets arena. He always slept there.
Yeah.
And he was just watching tape of McDavid on how to handle them, because the Jets first line actually did a terrific job stopping McDavid and Draisaitl,
Yeah.
limiting them to only McDavid was 4 points, I think, in this series in
Yeah.
4 games.
Yeah, that's good for
The Jets. Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's a point per game, pretty much average.
Yeah.
So we took Edmonton for good reason. Obviously, the Edmonton Oilers absolutely dominated the Jets in the regular season series. However, Eric, when it comes to the playoffs, I guess we were both misled.
Exactly.
You can't win in the playoffs with only 2 players.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. It's NHL.
And I feel like an idiot right now, Eric. I really do feel like an idiot.
Yeah.
Because you have Connor McDavid, who's the best player in the NHL. You have Leon Draisaitl, who was second to McDavid in points this year, and he also won the Art Ross last year for most points in the league. And this season, they pretty much dismantled the Jets' first line and just dominated them. And then in the playoffs, they get shut down. Right? I feel like an idiot. I feel like I've been not mistreated, but
misled.
Misled, yeah, exactly. I mean, Connor Hellebuck was amazing in the series. Yeah, Mike 100%. Smith was amazing in the series as well. It's just the Jets, I guess, they had a plan going into the playoffs that they didn't have earlier on in the season, and they figured McDavid and Draisaitl's line out, and that was it. If you shut that line out, pretty much you're gonna win the game, right? Limiting those 2 superstars in the game. The bottom 6 for Edmonton, nothing special, as we know. And I knew that going into the series, that the bottom 6 of the Edmonton Oilers wasn't special. But I didn't know McDavid and Draisaitl were going to be only, 4 points for McDavid. And I don't know what Draisaitl's point total was. But, I mean, just a disappointing effort by the Edmonton Oilers in this one. I mean, Eric, what do they do? What do they do this offseason?
Yeah. Like, let's be honest, we might have taken, like, we took Winnipeg's old experience, like their history of losing the first round, right? And we're like, okay, they're gonna get blown out. But don't forget, like, all their players are healthy. Hellebuck's playing like at a superstar level, and let's be honest, all the games were really close, except like
maybe a lot of OT
yeah,
winners.
Exactly, OTs, and one of them was a crazy comeback.
Yep.
But let's be honest, like it was way closer than the Avs and St. Louis series. Like it wasn't. It is a sweep, but it wasn't.
Yes, that's what they said. Close, this is the closest 4-game sweep we've probably in a while.
Exactly.
For sure.
So I don't think it's. You can say bad luck, but not really, right? Because if you get swept, it's not bad luck. It's just you just have to learn how to.
Got outplayed.
Exactly, you just got outplayed for sure. And when you go into OT and you really focus on Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl,
the mic fell.
Yeah, and you focus on them. Like in overtime, like you can like low-key shut them down. Like if you just focus on them and you make them play, and they get tired, like you can win, you know?
Yeah, I think that's the thing where I like to use the term blue balls, is where during the regular season, people did not watch this Edmonton-Winnipeg series. You know, they played 10 games. Edmonton destroyed Winnipeg. That first line of McDavid and Draisaitl absolutely ate up the first line of Winnipeg. Mark Scheifele was not great defensively in the regular season series. That first line just did not show up against them. And then they come into the playoffs and just completely stink. So I feel like that's why I'm saying I feel like an idiot, right? Because I took these guys to win. I figured like McDavid was, the Jets, like remember the Jets were also limping into the playoffs, right? They lost, a shitload of games in a row. And McDavid was getting like 3 points a night near the end of the regular season, and then they go into the playoffs and they totally just stop McDavid. So I feel like a total clown taking the Edmonton Oilers. But of course, let's talk about the depth. The depth for Winnipeg definitely showed up this series, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't only the first line of Scheifele. Like Scheifele had a great game in Game 4, but before that, it was the depth that showed up. You had guys like Andrew Kopp who showed up. Nick Ehlers wasn't there. Pierre-Luc Dubois wasn't there. The Adam Lowry line really had to step up this series. And so the depth for Winnipeg really showed up. Edmonton, not so much. And that was pretty much a given. Yeah. But the fact that their 2 superstars went scoreless too doesn't really help them out that much. Exactly. So the question is, what does Edmonton do this offseason? What's their plan? I mean, they realize they can't win like using the system of 2 superstars. So, Eric, if you had to offer advice, what do the Edmonton Oilers do this offseason?
Yeah, and like it's tough, right? Because if you look at Edmonton, they already have a bunch of money into those two
Yeah.
superstars, right? And um, it's just tough to like be able to trade players because you already have like 20 plus million into them. But to be honest, when I do get a better goalie, I know Mike Smith is good, but
Yeah.
you just
He's
want a good,
definitely
reliable
39 years
goalie.
old. Yep.
They have good D's, right? Darnell Nurse, Klebon Larson. Like
Hmm.
I think Klebon was injured, but
He was. Yep.
it's on the four. Yeah, the fours they just need more depth for sure, as we are talking about. And the thing I feel like with Edmonton now that teams have to realize is they're probably more a regular season team for sure now. When was the last time they won a playoff series? Was I think
The San Jose
McDavid's,
Sharks, I
yeah,
think.
McDavid's first
Yeah.
ever playoff appearance.
And let's
And
talk about that too, because McDavid also faced the Ducks the following series, and that
mhm.
I don't know if you
And
remember, but Game
yeah, I remember.
5 of that series, the
I
Edmonton
remember.
Oilers were up 3-0 with
Yeah,
only like
and
3 minutes left in
they
play,
blew
and
it.
they
Yeah,
blew it just
yeah.
like they blew a 4-1 lead in
Mhm.
Game 3. So tough for Oilers fans to remember
Well,
that.
because the thing is, Connor McDavid, like he can score the goals, right? But he can't defend. Like, he can't do
Nope,
everything.
not great
And
defensively.
the thing with NHL is it's 100% more of a team sport. You need if you don't have a good defense, you'll never be able. Like you need a very well-rounded team. And I'm just excited to see what Ken Holland does.
Hmm.
I know Ken Holland's one of the great GMs of the sport. He was great for Detroit. I know he'll do well, but the thing with him is usually overpays for contracts. If he likes a player or a vet, he's gonna pay them. So, but it's Ken Holland, so I'm really excited to see what he's gonna do. I think he's gonna. I feel like everyone like they're kind of gonna see like McDavid and Drysdale like their season is not gonna be worth as much, right?
Yeah.
Like Connor McDavid got 100 plus
100
points,
points.
like, but it's not gonna be mean as much
Nope,
anymore.
not when he gets swept.
So exactly, so very interested to see what happens this offseason.
I think the Ryan Nugent Hopkins trade rumors are probably going to heat up this offseason a lot. Obviously,
Yeah.
the Nuge, he has a pretty hefty contract, not the same as
Hmm.
McDavid and Draisaitl, of course, but
Exactly.
that's probably a player they're probably going to. I'm pretty confident that's a player they've already tried to move before,
Hmm.
but there was no takers. But now I feel like that's going to heat up a lot, and
Exactly.
Ryan Nugent Hopkins probably going to be on his way out of Edmonton if they're going to try and build a bottom six around
Yeah.
McDavid or Draisaitl, right? Because they have Darnell Nurse locked up and McDavid and
Hmm.
Draisaitl locked up. So those three are their biggest cap eaters right now.
Hmm.
So the Nuge probably on his way out of Edmonton if I had to
Exactly.
predict this
But you can kind,
offseason.
yeah, you can kind of see it like this. Don't forget, Toronto at first they didn't have that much depth. Like they
No.
were, it was what Marner, Matthews. You can kind of see how like they're one of the deepest team in the leagues, obviously. But you can kind of see how that works, right? You could build around two superstars, but it's gonna be really close to the cap, and it's gonna be really hard, right? You have to
Yep.
like it's gonna take a lot to build around two superstars. And Toronto, they got lucky with Tavares. Obviously, they got the
Yep.
signing, but we'll see what happens with Edmonton for sure.
Yeah, definitely something the Edmonton Oilers are going to have to figure out this offseason. As we move on to the other playoff series here, we can talk about the Islanders versus the Penguins, Eric. The
Hmm.
Islanders lead 3-2 in this series, of
Yeah.
course, after a big gaffe from the goalie, Tristan Yari. And this is something I predicted, Eric, about the goaltending in
Hmm.
Pittsburgh. I said it's a problem, and this is
Hmm.
why they would lose the series. Tristan Yari, if nobody watched, turned the puck over in overtime to Josh
Yeah.
Bailey, and he scored the goal. Clearly, I was right about the goaltending. Tristan Yari. I've watched some of these games, Eric, and Tristan Yari glove side high or shoulder side. I'm sorry, isn't very that hasn't been that good. He hasn't been stopping that many pucks when people are shooting it there. So obviously the Islanders have been watching tape and they kind of know this guy's weakness.
Hmm.
It's great to have Crosby and Malkin and blah blah blah, but when you have the Islanders, such a defensive-minded team, being able to
Yep.
shut those guys down and they get lucky bounces. I mean, they stole that game, Eric. They stole that OT
Hmm.
game. Sorokin stole that game for the Islanders.
Oh yeah, sir.
Yeah, they
Well,
shouldn't have won
sort
that
of
game.
performance.
The
Yeah.
Penguins dominated that game, but Tristan Yardy, of course, in OT, as I said, he gave the puck over and gave the Islanders a break, but a big break because that's a
Oh
3-2
yeah, for
series lead
sure.
now in a
Yeah.
tied series. I predicted the Islanders to win this series. Well, you had Pittsburgh, I think.
I had Pittsburgh. I still have
You still
Pittsburgh.
okay? You still
Yeah.
have Pittsburgh. No backing down.
No.
I think though it's the goaltending. I'm gonna
Okay.
predict
Fair.
the series though. I think it's the goaltending that lost the Penguins this series.
Okay.
Obviously, their defense hasn't been that great. Their bottom pairing defensemen, and so I mean, it's just the Penguins are gonna have to try and tie the series here,
Yeah.
and how they do that best, of course, is scoring goals. As we know,
Mhm.
Pittsburgh is definitely the most talented group
Oh yeah, for
forward
sure.
wise.
Yeah.
And so they're going to have to try and use that to the best of their abilities here to try
Mhm.
and tie this series out. But that's going to be a fun game 6 to watch for sure.
Oh, for sure.
As we talked about another game 6, of course, we have the state of Florida, the battle of the
Oh,
Sunshine State.
what a series! What a
Tampa and
series!
Florida is heading to a game 6. Florida won their game 5, I believe. So now it is 3-2 for Tampa Bay. Eric, let's talk about this series real quick. As we know, Tampa was leading 3-1 in the series. That game, the third game they won,
Yeah.
it got a little bit controversial at the end. Of course, Kucherov got slashed by Anthony Duclair on the knee. I forget, another person tried to get, there was some controversy with the Florida Panthers trying to injure some of the Tampa Bay players. But that was a dirty play. I think that was a dirty
I
play
watched
by
it.
Anthony
Yeah.
Duclair.
We love Anthony Duclair here on
Yeah.
the show because he's a Point Claire guy.
Point Claire resident, but that was
Yeah.
definitely a dirty play on Kucherov to slash him in the knee
Yeah.
there, especially since I have Kucherov in my fantasy pool this playoff. By the way, yeah, me and Eric are in a fantasy playoff pool with the same people from our regular season, but more this time. There's like 40 people, I think.
Exactly.
Eric's pretty much out of it. If we have to.
I haven't checked.
He hasn't checked. I have checked, and I'll tell you, you are definitely out of it. Me, though, I am still in it. I'm in the top 3, so hopefully I can win it here. I am relying heavily on the Tampa boys. I have Kucherov, Stamkos, Point, Killorn, Palat, Hedman in my fantasy playoff pool. So I'm relying heavily on those guys. I really think
I bet too much on the Edmonton boys. I had Connor McDavid and Draisaitl. You had the Edmonton boys.
Yeah, and they definitely hurt my chances at winning this thing, of course. I had McDavid and Draisaitl, so they definitely
oh my God.
hurt my chances. I didn't think it was going to be a 4-game sweep. I really thought Edmonton was going to win. But, yeah, Tampa 3-2. Eric, there's literally zero doubt in my mind Tampa finishes this series out. It's not going to go to a game 7. I can predict this right here on the air right now.
Okay.
But let's talk about Spencer Knight. Eric.
Oh, yeah, what a game.
Spencer Knight. The first shot he faced in game 5, he let in. But after that, I think he stopped like 35 shots or something like that, 36 shots.
Yeah, 36.
So this is crazy. This is amazing because you have Florida, who has Chris Driedger, who's had a phenomenal season and who could potentially be up for the Seattle expansion draft, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have Spencer Knight, too, who's looking real good and NHL ready already. And then you have Big Bob, who's on the contract for $10 million.
Huge contract, yeah.
So somehow I think the Florida Panthers are going to have to convince Bobrovsky to leave himself available for the Seattle expansion draft, because if they somehow lose Chris Driedger or something like that, that's going to be a huge loss for them. But then again, they'll have Spencer Knight and Bobrovsky. But the fact that Bobrovsky has a $10 million contract and is getting outplayed by Spencer Knight is definitely worrisome for the Florida Panther fans, as that's a hefty contract on the books for like, what, 7 more years?
And they have so many goalies too. Don't forget our boy Devin Levy from West Island.
That would be when the time comes. He will come up.
No.
But for now, Spencer Knight is pushing for that starting spot.
They drafted him with a lottery pick.
Yeah,
right before Cole Caulfield too, which is really interesting. Don't forget, this guy's like, is he our age or maybe a bit old? I think he's like 20. Like he's our.
He might be older or he's our age.
But basically, bro, this is crazy. Like in the playoffs too.
No, I think he's younger than us.
Oh yeah,
because it's Cole Caulfield's draft, right?
Yeah, I think Cole Caulfield's.
And Cole Caulfield's younger than us.
Really?
No, I'm older than Cole Caulfield.
Well, maybe you are, but I think Jack Hughes. Yeah, Jack Hughes, Cole Caulfield. Yeah.
I think I'm older than Cole Caulfield, but
I think he's
I'm 20. He's not 20 years old yet.
Spencer Knight, he is. Spencer Knight is. I know he's 20. Spencer.
I think he is. Is he 20 or 19?
I swear he's 20.
Anyway, I think we're older than him anyway. But yeah, Spencer Knight, terrific game in Florida. He's most likely going to start game 6 and probably game 7 if it goes there. So, I mean, that's a great storyline, but also a tough storyline for Panthers fans, as they know. $10 million on the books.
But I was watching the games, but Tampa dominates they possess all the most, and then Florida will try and get like a shorthanded goal. I think their game winner might I don't know. It's just Tampa
somehow
dominates
this series. I think this is one of the best series in the playoffs.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a good series. Yeah.
you might say Tampa's been dominating, but I mean, it's been back and forth. I mean, the goals, both teams have averaged like 5 goals a game or
Yeah, I
something
know,
like
I know.
that. And they're going back and forth, but Tampa's definitely getting the better end of the stick here
Exactly.
because of because they're maybe $30 million over the salary cap in the playoffs, but let's
Yeah.
not mention that. So those two are going to go to a game 6. That's definitely going to be entertaining. I said this series was going to probably 6 or 7. I mean, this was going to be a competitive series going forward. I knew that, so that's why I didn't want to give up on the Florida Panthers. By the looks of it, early on in the series, it looks like they were going to get bounced in 5 or something like that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But they battled back. They won game 5. So here they'll game 6. That's going to be interesting to watch. But let's go over to the Wild and the Vegas Golden Knights, Eric, where Vegas leads the series 3-2. The Wild, as just like the Florida Panthers, they won game 5 with only 14 shots on net.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Only 14 shots on net. They won the game somehow. Eric, I had Vegas, of course, in this series. You had Vegas. I did say this series could go 6 or 7 as well. This could be a competitive series. But for me, in opinion, watching those games, Vegas is dominating the Wild. I mean, there's nothing to it. I mean, Marc-Andre Fleury looks amazing. And the Vegas forward group is just hemming the Wild group in their own zone.
They have no weaknesses.
14 shots.
Yeah.
14 shots and you win the game. Yeah, I would call that a fluke. And I think Vegas has taken this in 6. So that's my opinion.
But how much do you think Edmonton's missing Cam Talbot? Imagine if Cam Talbot's doing that for them.
I mean, it's tough though. Cam Talbot has had such an up and down career so far.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he was in Edmonton. He had a great first season in Edmonton.
Yeah, he had a great first
and then he
season.
Stunk. And then he went to Calgary. And he sucked in Calgary too. And then he ended up in Minnesota. And he's had this great season to try and re-jump his career here. So hopefully Cam Talbot. I like Cam Talbot. I've always loved Cam Talbot. I mean, they have Kakkonen, the backup, who's a young goaltender who could probably try and go for the starting reins next season. I'm not sure about Cam Talbot's contract, what it is, if it's a 1-year deal or anything like that. If he's a free agent after this, I have no clue.
I think it's 1 year, yeah.
But Wild should definitely look into re-signing that, or maybe they just give the reins to Kakkonen. I mean, I wouldn't mind that too. I think Kakkonen could be a proven start next season too as well.
Yeah.
So I think this series is done though in 6. I got Vegas. I don't think it's going to a game 7. Let's talk to another really good series that's happening.
Oh, please.
Carolina-Nashville.
Yeah.
Carolina-Nashville. As we know, Carolina started the series in Carolina, of course, because they were the first seed. They won the first 2 games there, and then they went to old Nashville and played in that stadium and lost the next 2 games. Eric, there is something about the Nashville Stadium and that playoff experience that just gets that team motivated. I mean,
for sure.
They came out, they won the OT, and then I think it was the first game they beat the Carolina Hurricanes, and then the second game it was OT or something like, or it might have been reversed. But yeah, Nashville is one of my favorite places to watch hockey games in the playoffs. One of my favorite places. I mean, the chant. Remember that chant?
Yeah.
Your fault.
Yeah.
One of the best chants I've ever heard.
Yeah.
But this series is now 2-2, tied, of course. So
it's 2-2 in the game right now too. There's 4 minutes as we speak.
In game 5.
Yeah.
So, and this is in Carolina too. This would be a huge steal by the Nashville Predators. Predators, if they can steal this game in Carolina and then go back to Nashville for game 6, that would be huge, especially being down 0-2. I like Carolina. I mean, I love Rob Brindamore. He's a great coach. The Carolina team, this is a cup contending team, Eric, and this would be disappointing as hell for Hurricanes fans if they get upset here in the first round by the Nashville Predators, who weren't even expected to make the playoffs until they went on that crazy streak.
And Saros started playing really well.
Saros played really good, and they made the playoffs, and now they're tied 2-2 and 2-2 in the hockey game in game 5. I mean, that's crazy. This is one of the best series, as I said.
Exactly.
In the playoffs. I thought Carolina was going to handle these guys pretty easily. I thought it was either going to be a sweep or 5 games, but Nashville keeps proving me wrong. I mean,
but let's be honest, Carolina's depth is very underrated. Like, I'm looking at the score. Martin Necas has 2 goals in this game right now, and Nashville. You know who? I don't even know who this guy is. Trennan.
No, see, I don't even know these guys.
He doesn't have a picture on Wikipedia. Like
on the score app, he doesn't even have a picture.
Yeah, this guy has 2 goals and doesn't have a picture.
2 goals.
Yeah, for Nashville, which is
So
crazy.
obviously the depth for Nashville is
Yeah.
clearly showing up right now. And that was a team that was built on depth. I mean, no real superstar talent besides maybe you can argue Philip Forsberg.
Hmm.
But Matt Duchene's game dropped off incredibly this season. Ryan
Oh
Johansson's
yeah.
game has dropped off. It's been a few years now.
Well, yeah, yeah.
And but this is a team that has their defensive core loaded. Roman Yossi,
Hmm.
Ryan Ellis, Ekholm. They didn't trade Ekholm this season because they were making the playoffs. Thank God they didn't
Hmm.
do that.
Yeah.
And as we know, they still have a dangerous blue line. It's
Yeah.
just the forward group for the Nashville Predators hasn't shown up this season. But right now in the
Exactly.
playoffs, the depth is showing up. So good for them as this series is shifting to a game 5 that is currently going on tonight.
Hmm.
So we don't know what the outcome will be.
Exactly.
But that I'll tell you this: if Nashville wins
Oh yeah.
tonight,
Yeah.
Eric, I think they win it at home in Game
Oh
6.
yeah.
I think Nashville takes it at home. I mean, just the playoff atmosphere there. I
But
think
Carolina does have a very good playoff atmosphere as well. They have
at
the
home, yes,
surge go.
the surge.
Yeah.
But I'm saying if Nashville can steal that
Yeah,
game
I
in
know, I know, I know.
Carolina, that's a
Bro, the
huge swing in the
oh yeah, for
series.
sure. And
Huge
Tennessee's gonna go
swing.
crazy. Yeah.
But let's look at another series that's over. Boston and Washington. Boston easily defeats the Washington Capitals in 5 games, 4-1. It was very nice to watch the handshake line with Zdeno Chara, as we saw Bergevin, or not Bergevin,
Bergeron. Yeah, I always get them
Bergeron,
confused. Yeah.
Marchand, McAvoy, especially McAvoy, who didn't even go for the handshake, absolutely hugged Zdeno Chara because they played together on the same defensive parent in Boston. But Eric, you had Washington in this series.
I know.
You
It's
had
pretty
Washington this
disappointing.
series,
I
and I
know. I
had
know.
Boston in this
I know.
series.
I know.
Yeah, I knew going into the series. I mean, Tuukka Rask on the back. Did we not talk about this? I mentioned this at the trade deadline. I said the goaltending in Washington, I didn't
Yeah.
trust it. I didn't trust
Okay,
it.
yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
The two rookie, Vanacek and Samson, I said they should
Yeah.
pick up a vet guy. I mean, they had Craig Anderson who won that game
Yeah.
1.
Yeah.
I know there wasn't that many vet goalies on the market, and
Yeah.
most likely Samsonov was going to start these games, but obviously Samsonov a little shaky in this series. There was that play with Justin Schultz where Samsonov left the puck and Justin Schultz thought he was passing, and Craig Smith just stole that and scored.
Mm.
So yeah, I knew going into the series, Boston's forwards. I mean, those top 2 lines are just way better than the top
Exactly.
2 lines of the Washington Capitals. I mean, Ovechkin tried his best to try and help his team. Didn't have that dominant of a playoff series as he usually does. Um, Same with Kuznetsov, Backstrom, Tom Wilson. I mean,
Yeah.
Boston just totally figured them out early on in the series and
Yeah.
just rode from that.
But
Then
you know
on.
what I'd blame this on? I probably blame it like to be honest. I was surprised when this was over. I was like, wow,
Yep.
really? I guess Boston just has a bit more hunger in them. I'll blame it on that. I feel like I watched a couple like the third periods, a couple games, and Boston like they're a good team. Like they have
That's what I
depth too.
knew.
Like
That's why I took them.
they're very well rounded too. Their
Yeah.
defense, I thought it was gonna be a bit shaky.
Yeah,
They're
me
only
too.
like
I saw Jared
McAvoy.
Tenori starting. I was like,
Yeah,
what?
exactly.
Jared
Yeah,
Tenori's still in the league?
exactly. I didn't even know he was still in the league.
Montreal
So
first round pick, still playing in Boston.
exactly. So that was surprising. So I'm happy for Boston. Like I wouldn't mind if Boston they can go far. Like they have a really good team for sure.
They do. They definitely do. I do think though Tampa will probably come out the East favorites. I mean Tampa just looks too good in my opinion right now. I mean I before the podcast, before we started the podcast, I've been very public about how I feel about the Tampa Bay Lightning after they choked against the Columbus Blue Jackets that one season. The following season, the season they won the Stanley Cup, I said no chance the Tampa Bay Lightning win the Stanley Cup. They're gonna run into a team that's definitely grittier and bigger than them, and that's just gonna be it. Because that's what Columbus did to them that one series. But no, Tampa Bay won the cup, and then this season, Kucherov, people thought he was gonna be rusty going into the playoffs. He was actually leading the playoffs in points.
Exactly.
So I mean, I knew that. That's why I took him. That's why I took Tampa to come out of the East because I believed in Kucherov coming back. Because I think it was fixed. But anyway, let's move on to the Montreal-Toronto series. Let's not spend too time. I don't want to spend any more time.
We've been talking about this series a lot.
Listen, Montreal loses this series. It's 3-1 right now, Toronto. I mean, I talked about the key factors, the X factors. Shea Weber, nothing special. He hasn't looked anything special. Hasn't really looked himself. Carey Price does look very healthy and does look like playoff Price, and that's something I thought would happen. But just he's the only guy that pulls up in the series.
Exactly.
You know, when you have no goal support, you lose. And even without Tavares, Toronto still with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. And the penalties, Eric. Okay, let's talk.
Oh, yeah.
Quickly.
Yeah.
I've watched every game.
Yeah.
And listen, I hate saying that there's a Montreal bias with the refs and the NHL, and they want Toronto to go forward and all that. But like, come on, some of these.
Yeah. What was
if
that?
you're a Habs fan watching this and you've watched the games, you can agree with me that some of these calls against Montreal have been super weak.
So
I mean,
bad.
it's like, you know what? Austin Matthews,
Austin Matthews
is a bitch. Okay, he's been but see, I love Austin. He's a generational player, but he has been a bitch in this playoff series. I mean, he has been. I mean, in front of the net when there's a stoppage of play, right? And there's a scrum going on, and he deliberately joins the scrum, like face washing and stuff like that. And then when he gets thrown to the ground or something, he looks at the ref, he starts smiling. What's going on? I didn't do anything. That should be a penalty. Like, what am I supposed to do? And then, hands up, right? Austin Matthews was thrown to the ground by Weber, whatever, 2-minute minor. I mean, the penalties have been in favor for Toronto this series. Even after Toronto got 3 over the net calls in game 1, Toronto, of course, still getting in the way in the penalties.
Oh, for sure.
I think it's been weak. I've watched a lot of these American series, Eric, and a lot of the stuff the refs don't call. But Montreal, Toronto, it's like they're calling everything, every little thing, every little face wash, scrum, cross check. It's like, it's the playoffs. I mean, you got to let some of these stuff go. The intensity moves up.
Exactly.
But of course, I believe that the NHL wants the Maple Leafs to be Canada's team coming out of the North. I really do.
Did you see that Ben Sherrod penalty today? I don't know if you remember on Matthews. It was like
the cross check in front.
They couldn't even find it. They couldn't even find it.
Austin Matthews is standing in front of the net, screening Price, and Ben Sherrod is trying to move and cross check it, and then they call a freaking
cross
check on Ben Sherrod. It was nothing. And, whatever. That's the tail of the tape. So,
but you know what's pretty surprising? Like, Nylander is pulling up in the playoffs.
Nylander is playing. I will admit.
And who else is pulling up? Alex Galchenyuk. Yo, I feel that.
I took my head back. I don't want to hear. We're moving on.
Okay, fair.
I don't even want to mention that. Switch my earbuds.
Alex Galchenyuk couldn't do anything for Montreal.
I don't want to talk about it. Anyway, let's move on to the NBA playoffs here. The NBA playoffs, Eric, as we did with the NHL playoffs, freshly just started. It's been a few days here. Let's start quickly as we're already running through time here. We just talked a lot about the NHL playoffs. Let's quickly talk about the NBA playoffs. Let's go through the series. You're the big NBA guy more than me, so you know these series. Let's talk about LA and the Suns. The Suns won game 1. It just seemed like the Suns were in control of that game. With Chris Paul had a little injury, but Devin Booker, one of the superstars, one of the youth superstars of the league, really pulled up that game. And Eric, the Suns won game 1. What are we thinking? What's the thought process?
I'll be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if Suns did win the series.
Okay.
But if I had to put money on it, like if you're like choose one team, I'm going Lakers. Like, I'm never down on LeBron. Like LeBron, like I don't like betting like against LeBron. It's very scary every time. LeBron, like, he just finds a way, even though I know they won game 1.
He's a flopper, even though he violated the health protocol.
I know, but he's gonna. Yeah, that was ridiculous. He didn't even get fined anything. That was
nothing.
But we don't really have time for that today.
Well, it's because you don't suspend the superstars. It's
Kristaps went to a club, got 50K.
I mean, it's LeBron. You're never gonna suspend LeBron.
But I just don't know if Suns have enough playoff experience. Like, DeAndre Ayton, first time in the playoffs, dominated. So did Devin Booker, and then Chris Paul. Like, he played well, but like he got kind of injured for a bit. So and it was a young. Like, I was kind of surprised. I thought Chris Paul's down, it's over. Yeah. Like, but no. But to be honest, it's a tie. I think Lakers are winning 35-34 right now in the game 2.
Game 2.
I think Lakers are gonna win this.
How many games do you think?
I think it's gonna go games. It's gonna go 7.
Oh, okay.
But 7 games, I'm really scared because like Chris Paul, very clutch player. So I really don't know. I'm very confused on this series.
Yeah, for sure. I watched game 1. DeAndre Ayton pretty much shut down Anthony Davis. He was his literal father in game 1. Anthony Davis had no answer for DeAndre Ayton, and he popped off. So hopefully it's something he could figure out because, Eric, if Anthony Davis doesn't figure this out and he keeps getting shut down by
Oh yeah.
DeAndre Ayton, which I
Yeah.
clearly don't think will
Yeah.
happen. I think
Exactly.
Anthony
Yeah.
Davis will figure out,
Yeah.
but definitely some positive signs for the Suns when it comes to that matchup because
Oh,
I don't
for
think
sure.
LeBron can win this by, as great LeBron is and what he did with the Cleveland teams and, he brought these shitty teams to the
Yeah.
finals and stuff
Exactly.
like that. I don't know if LeBron can beat this team if Anthony Davis doesn't pull up.
Exactly. Exactly. But that's the thing. Like, it's because LeBron's older now, and this is a very good. This is a Suns team
Yeah.
that can realistically, like, they're second in
Could
the
be a
league right now.
danger
Like,
and
they could leave. Like, Suns could low-key make the finals. I don't think they will, but like, this is a team that like this is one of the best teams in the league. So, I I'll say Lakers. I think they're gonna win in
I
7.
do think Lakers are going to win this series too. I'm
Yeah,
not going to bet against LeBron and
but
AD.
don't be surprised if Suns wins. I'll be on. Do not
I
be
would
surprised at all.
still be shocked if the Suns
Oh
somehow
yeah,
win.
I
I
wouldn't
would
be out.
honestly be shocked. I
I
would
wouldn't be out.
because the fact that LeBron and AD would get bounced in round 1, that would
Yeah, I
shock
know.
me.
Yeah.
But let's move to the other LA series, Eric.
Mhm.
LA Clippers, Kawhi and Paul George lose game 1 to the Dallas Mavericks to Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis. Eric, they absolutely popped off that game.
Yep.
What do you got for who has the momentum going into game 2? Who do you think is winning the series?
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
got?
Well, this is kind of tough right now because the game's going on right now,
Yep.
and the Mavs are winning 31-23.
Oh wow.
And this might kind of persuade my decision, but I'll be honest.
Let's remember the folks here. This was the same series last year, same exact series.
Exactly.
Clippers
Yeah.
won in 6.
Yeah.
And now they're going to do a repeat this year.
If you remember, Luka had that crazy game
Yep.
1 or 2. Yeah. But I honestly think, I'll be honest, I want Dallas to win because we'll be because we're Utah. If we make it out of the first, we're gonna be facing Dallas Mavericks in the second, right? So this is what I want, and I honestly do think Dallas is gonna win. No, that's a lie. That's a lie. I just lied to myself. I think Clippers are gonna win, but I really want Dallas to win, and I would not be surprised if Dallas did win. Like,
Yeah.
but
And they look great. Luka looks great. Porzingis
don't forget,
looks great.
Kawhi's a free agent after this season. He only signed a 2-year deal.
Yeah.
He's done with his team. Like, I don't think he's re-signed. If they get booted in the first round, Kawhi is gone. Like, that's all I'm saying. Like, I honestly think Luka, like, he's a very clutch player. Don't forget last season he didn't have Kristaps. This year he does.
Yeah.
I don't know what's gonna happen with that like violation, but still he has Kristaps. The team's really good. That was a pretty good team. They look like they have something on. They know something on the Clippers. They know how to play them. So I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas did win.
Yeah, as we know, when Kawhi first came to the Clippers, he was kind of skeptical, saying to Steve Ballmer that your team's not good enough, blah, blah, blah. So they went to acquire Paul George, and then finally Kawhi decided to join them. But yeah, you're absolutely right that if the Clippers get bounced and he's a free agent, Kawhi could potentially be looking elsewhere to win another championship, as this team kind of hasn't figured out they haven't figured it out in the playoffs. I mean, they got upset by the Denver Nuggets last year, and that was kind of an embarrassment said by a lot of people.
Oh, for sure.
This year they could potentially be bounced by the Dallas Mavericks, which would be a huge blow.
But let's be honest, it's the Clippers' curse. Clippers I forgot how long. I think it's 50 years of NBA. They've never made it out of the second round.
Yep.
They've never made it to the conference. How crazy is that? Like, how does a team never make it out? Like, they've choked 2-3-1 leads in the second round too. Like, come on, like there's just something going on. And you have Paul George on your team, Kawhi Leonard, like.
Especially this is two different Clippers team, right? You had a Clippers team with Blake Griffin, CP3,
and DeAndre Jordan,
DeAndre Jordan, and now you have a team with Kawhi and Paul George is still kind of haven't figured it out. So yeah, maybe it's a Clippers curse. But let's move on quickly. Boston and Brooklyn. I mean, there's nothing to talk about. There's nothing to talk about. Brooklyn is winning this series.
Brooklyn.
We can move on to the next one. There's no chance the Boston Celtics are beating this team. Let's move on to the next one. This one's actually pretty interesting. Atlanta, New York, Eric.
Yeah.
Atlanta, they win game 1 in the Garden. Trae Young getting that villain.
For sure. But he loves that. Yeah.
He loves that. People apparently were chanting "F you" to him and stuff like that after he hit the game-winning shot. Eric, I love New York playoffs especially the Knicks. I was really
for sure.
I was rooting for them and in game 1 because of the Garden atmosphere. There's so many
for sure.
people. But Eric, Atlanta leads 1-0. They steal a game in the Garden. They still have one more game there. where do you think? Are you confident with the Knicks, or
Okay,
are you leaning Atlanta's way?
that's the thing. I was very surprised of Atlanta's defense. That's the thing. I
Hmm.
thought they were gonna come in here. Trae Young's a terrible defender. I was like, okay, they New York can do something here. I think I still have, like, I'll be honest, I have New York winning this in 7, something like that. But I wouldn't be surprised if Atlanta wins. I know I keep saying that, but because you never know, it's just a prediction. So I think Atlanta, um, Trae Young, Trae Young is ice cold, man. I'm telling
Yeah,
you, this guy knows. Like, he, I've been following him since high school. I know it's hard to believe, but I've been following him since he was like probably 16. Back to then, people were booing him all the time. Like, he was already the villain in high school, and he's done
yeah,
that. And then he was doubted his whole life. I even doubted him in Oklahoma. He dropped so many, like, he averaged like 27 and 10, and people still doubted him. And then he comes here in the NBA, had like a 30-point season basically last year, having a great season. People said he couldn't make the playoffs. He made the playoffs this year. So I don't like doubting Trae Young, but I still have the Knicks. I think the Knicks, Tom Thibodeau, very good player. I love Julius Randle. I love
yeah.
RJ Barrett. I just think, and they have Derrick Rose too. Don't forget, Derrick Rose is a very clutch
And
player.
Noel too played a really good
Oh
game
no,
one
very
too.
good defensive player for sure.
Played a really good game one
hmm
for sure.
And I think
Yeah.
their addition of Derrick Rose is big because Derrick
Yep.
Rose is a very clutch player. He pulled up in the clutch for them. But Trey Young, he has that
Trae
floater.
Young.
Like, he's good. He's a good player.
Guy has ice in his veins
Oh,
currently,
for sure.
but I love seeing what's his face. Oh my god. Can you help me
Which,
here? The
which
diehard
team?
fan of the Knicks, the
Oh,
director,
Spike Lee. Spike
Spike
Lee.
Lee. Spike Lee. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't believe I forgot that name.
Yeah.
Spike Lee. Love seeing Spike Lee in his
Oh yeah.
New York
Oh
merch
yeah.
at the game, front row. I
hmm
mean, this guy's been a diehard fan for
Oh
years,
yeah.
even though the
Die
Knicks
Hard.
have
Yeah.
been shit. Him and Stephen A. Smith.
Oh yeah.
It's amazing to see the Knicks in the playoffs,
Oh, it's great
especially
for basketball. It's
great for
so good
basketball. It's
for
great for
basketball.
SMG, especially the tickets,
Oh yeah.
the cheapest tickets, probably a few $100s there.
Yeah.
But that was a big win by Atlanta in MSG because
Oh, that
Eric,
was
I
big.
do not think the Knicks are going to be are going to play like that, like they did in. They played a really good game in
Yeah, they did. They
MSG.
did.
I don't think they can do that in Atlanta.
Okay,
I
that's
think
fair.
I think it's a whole playoff atmosphere. The fans in MSG. I really
hmm
think it has a lot to do
Oh
with
yeah.
the momentum and how they play.
Okay,
I
that's
don't
fair.
think they play like that in Atlanta. I really think even if Atlanta or New York wins the next game in MSG, I
hmm
think Atlanta wins the next 2 games
Okay.
in Atlanta. That's my
Okay.
opinion.
No, but that is fair to say. It's very close. But I just love how every time the Knicks are in the playoffs. Don't forget, this is the most valuable franchise,
Yep.
like one of the most valuable franchises of like ever, like just not ever, but like, yeah, basically ever, and in
Yeah,
the whole
sports.
entire
Yeah,
world.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
it's literally one of the most valuable franchises. And even though they've sucked last like 10 years, and they're still one of the most. And now that they're in the playoffs, they have a good team. Their fans are back. Like, it's always good for basketball. I I'm an NBA fan, so I want to see New York win. So maybe I'm a bit biased here, but I do believe New York can pull this off, and I want to see them make the second round for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I still think it's a playoff or just the moment or the
Yeah,
playoff atmosphere at
yeah,
MSG
that's fair.
that
hmm
really gets them going. I don't think they could do that at Atlanta, but let's move on, Eric, to the Memphis Grizzlies versus the Utah
Oh
Jazz.
yeah,
Eric, your Utah Jazz, the first seed, dropped game one to the Memphis Grizzlies. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell still out.
yeah.
He wasn't able to play. He was pretty pissed off actually that
Oh
he
yeah,
wasn't
he
able to
was very
play
pissed.
game
Yeah,
one because he definitely could have won it for them.
yeah.
But Memphis steals game one. Eric, can Memphis beat? Like, I don't know. Do you know when Donovan Mitchell's supposed to come back?
No, he's coming back next game. He
Okay,
he
next
could. Yeah,
game.
he's coming back next game. He should have played game one. I don't know what the fuck happened there. I was so pissed when I heard he couldn't play because this guy been resting just for the playoffs, and then he doesn't show up, and now
Yeah,
24 hours later he can play. Like, what's happening there? Like, Donovan Mitchell said he could play. They didn't let him play because like the staff said he couldn't. But bro, come on, just let Donovan Mitchell play. If we had Donovan Mitchell, we would have won this game
yeah.
by
I still think
easy.
with Donovan Mitchell back, the Utah. I think they could beat them, and I think they can win the next 4 games.
No, yeah, I think it's not even close. I think Utah's
I mean,
got this.
there's no chance Utah loses to Memphis, right?
No.
I mean, that
Trust.
would be embarrassing,
I'm
and
telling you,
I would make sure you remember that as
no. There's
well.
no way. Come on. Utah, we're the number one team in the league. We're not losing to Memphis. I might have jinxed myself, but I hope not. I'm telling you, I'm so confident. I love this Utah team. I love how well built we're. And the thing is, our offense does kind of run through Donovan. I was watching the game. and it's pretty sad. We came back. Bojan Bogdanovic
Well,
was making
realistically, this isn't hockey, right? This is NBA. Of course, when you
Yeah,
lose a star player,
exactly,
it's going to be tough
exactly.
to get the offense going.
But it
So
was tough because it was at home, right? You never
yeah,
want to lose at
no,
home.
never
And
want
why
to
is
lose at
Donovan
home.
Mitchell not playing at home? Like the fans want to see Donovan Mitchell, but it doesn't matter. That's in the past. We gotta look forward. We're gonna win our games. Don't worry about that. I'm so confident that we're gonna win. I just made this up. I'll literally like if we lose, like I'm never talking about like I'm quitting the podcast. Like I'm never talking about sports. I'm quitting the podcast. I don't even care.
Memphis upsets Utah. You are
No,
done with the podcast.
I'm never talking about sports. Like I'm done with the podcast.
Done with sports. Done with podcasts.
Nothing. Nothing.
Go become a Amish living
Exactly. I'm
person.
done.
Just
Exactly.
off the radar. Never show your
But
face
trust,
again.
we are winning this.
Let's move on to the Washington series versus the Philadelphia 76ers. There, 76ers win game one. Still a pretty good game one though by Washington. I was actually surprised. But Eric, what's his face popped off for the 76ers? Shooting guard for the 76ers.
Tobias Harris.
Tobias Harris absolutely
that's a
popped
small
off.
forward. Small forward, by the way. Yeah.
Okay, small forward, but he shoots like he's a shooting guard.
Yeah.
But he absolutely stole the game for the 76ers.
Yeah,
He popped off. Philadelphia wins game one. Eric, is there any chance Washington can try and win the series or
I'll
make
be
it
honest,
close?
I'd say like it's 80-20. Like I still give Washington like a 20% chance of winning this just on the fact that they have Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. They arguably have I'd say the second and third best players in the series. But Tobias Harris, I'm telling you, Tobias Harris is very good in the playoffs.
There's just more depth. There's more depth on the 76ers.
There is more depth, but obviously, if you look at Washington, they only have two superstars. They have nothing else. But I honestly think it's not gonna be an easy like sweep. I don't think I think it's honestly gonna be like a 6. I'll give them 6 games.
This might be the Edmonton Winnipeg series of basketball.
Fair, yeah. I can see where you're going with it, but I think
except roles reversed.
Yeah,
the actual first seed wins.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd say Philly would win in 6. I'd get Philly in 6.
Okay, 6. I'd say I get Philly 5. Philly in 5.
Yeah, fair.
But we gotta fly through this. Obviously, let's move to the Miami-Milwaukee series.
Oh, that's a good series.
This is the same series from last year where Miami absolutely upset the Milwaukee Bucks. They won that series, but now it seems like Milwaukee doesn't want to repeat that, Eric, as they lead 2-0 in the series. I mean, is there any chance Miami would? I mean, Jimmy Butler.
I love Miami's team. They lost Victor Oladipo, which is.
We talked about we said Miami was a dark horse in the playoffs.
Yeah,
remember?
exactly. But
it seems like
we didn't know they were gonna face Milwaukee, obviously.
Yeah.
But Milwaukee, this team could literally upset the Nets. Like this team is so well built.
Yeah.
The addition of Drew Holiday is so underrated. This guy is one of the best combo guards in the league. So good defensively. He can score. He's so good for this team. Chris Middleton been so good, so clutch for this team. And obviously Giannis is doing his thing. And the thing with Giannis is he's the type of player, kind of like Connor McDavid, where he's gonna score a bunch of goals, right? He'll get a bunch of points, but once it gets to overtime, like in the clutch plays, it's tough. If you focus all your defense on Connor McDavid, all your defense on Giannis, like you can stop him, right? Like that's why you need more players around him to like support. You need to have a good supporting cast around Giannis, and that's the thing. So that's why they have Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday that can actually finish and win games for them, which is very big for them.
That's the thing. Milwaukee in OT, as we saw in the Raptors series, when the Raptors won they didn't really show up. Giannis didn't really show up. He got fouled out, I remember, in that game against Toronto.
Game 3,
So that's definitely a thing to look forward to if this game or if any game pushes OT. But it seems like Milwaukee, they have a commanding 2-0 lead. They're probably going to win this series. I'd say, what would you say?
I'd say 5 game maybe. Just because on the fact they have Jimmy Butler, I'd give him a couple games to Jimmy Butler just because Jimmy Butler, this guy doesn't like losing. So
that's why.
So I'd say 5-6 game for.
I do want to see how Miami does in Miami. I want to see how they play in their home barn because
they're gonna have a lot of fans there
in the NBA. Especially in the NBA playoffs. Not like the NHL. You have fans in the stands. It could be a huge momentum swing for that team. So let's see how they play in Miami. I don't think they win this series just because they dropped the 2 games, but maybe they could take 1. But hell, even if they win 2 in Miami, I still think Milwaukee is the better team this series. Like you said, Drew Holiday, underrated. Chris Middleton looks amazing. And of course, Giannis.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move on to the Portland-Denver series. Eric, this is a series I think that can go 7 games.
Yeah.
Portland-Denver tied 1-1. Of course, Denver out with their star point guard Jamal Murray. And Portland, as we know, Dame time, he is literally popping off in the playoffs right now. He had like 32 points in the first half, I think, in game 2. So, Eric, I do believe this could go 7. Maybe I think. Who do you have in this series?
I'll be honest, this is my favorite series out of the whole playoffs.
Yeah.
I love these two teams. I love the matchup too. And I would have loved to see Nuggets with Jamal Murray too. It would have been better. I think it would have been.
I think Denver would win this series.
Yeah, if they had
with Jamal Murray.
Sure. But the fact that they don't have Jamal Murray makes it even more interesting. And don't forget, Portland did steal a game at home.
Yep.
Because don't forget, last year we didn't have home court advantage. This year we do. So it makes the playoffs so much more interesting, right? So they stole a game at home. You know, like Dame is always going to show up in the playoffs. This guy never disappoints. CJ McCollum is a great second option.
Yeah, secondary option, yeah.
Exactly. They have Yusuf Nurkic. Like, I love this team. Even Norman Powell, he's a great player. He's pretty good in the playoffs too. But the fact that Jokic is a very underrated player. People are like, oh, his defense. Like, he doesn't look like a good basketball player, but he's very good. Like, he's carried this team, man. Like, people give so much credit to Curry for carrying the team. Bro, he carried this team to the 3rd seed without Jamal Murray. Like, he literally did this himself. Like, I honestly think this is why I think Jokic would be MVP. That's another discussion.
Yeah.
But I honestly think this is going 7 games. I think Portland's going to win 7 just on the fact they don't have Jamal Murray. I just don't see how Jokic could in the like.
I don't think he would do it himself, though.
Exactly.
I mean, they got Aaron Gordon. They got Michael Porter Jr. I mean, that's pretty much their top options right now. So, yeah.
But don't forget, these are teams that face each other pretty often. 2 years ago, they won 7 games, too. It was a great series. So, this is why I think this year is going to be a great series as well, which is crazy. So, because Portland won game 1 and then Nuggets won game 2. And the difference between the scores were the same. Like, it's such an even series.
Yeah.
So, I'm very interested to see who's going to take the dub. And it's big. Like, it could be like I don't even know. Like, it's very conflicting for sure.
Just drop my paper. Hold on. Drop my paper.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah. You good?
Yeah, for sure. The NBA playoffs, always interesting. We'll definitely have to look into that. Portland, Denver, we both think is going to go 7. I really do believe that just because Jamal Murray's out. And Portland definitely has a really good chance at winning this series and stealing it from the Denver Nuggets as the lower seed. But let's move to the NFL, Eric, where we had breaking news where Atlanta Falcons wide receiver Juilo Jones was called by Shannon Sharpe on Undisputed with Skip Bayless. The show, it was live. The show was on, and he called Juilo Jones, and he said, listen, are you staying in Atlanta or are you going somewhere to win? Maybe the Dallas Cowboys. And he said, listen, I'm out of here. So Juilo Jones is pretty much said he's done with the Atlanta Falcons, even after taking
Kyle
Pitts as a tight end. That was looking. Remember, we on the show we were saying that's looking like a really dangerous,
for sure.
Offensive group. But looks like Juilo Jones will not be an Atlanta Falcon come next season. Eric, he wants to win. So let's take a look. I have some teams there. Let's take a look at some of the teams I believe that Juilo Jones could find himself with. And first on the list, of course, I have the New England Patriots, Eric. As we know, Bill Belichick, I mean, this guy was spending money like an Amazon, like he was on an Amazon shopping spree. I mean, he was just throwing money out, trying to make his team better. And we've seen it before with Antonio Brown. He's not afraid of getting disgruntled stars on his team.
Oh, exactly.
And so it could, I don't think Juilo Jones is worth a first-round pick, especially with his age right now.
No.
So it's definitely a move that Bill Belichick could definitely do. It's very possible, with Mac Jones. Probably, I believe, is going to be their starting quarterback throughout the season. I don't think Cam Newton's going to be able to handle the lower, unless he figures out how to throw the ball again. Because last year,
just to be clear, is Julio Jones a free agent or is he?
No, he wants out.
Traded?
Like he's getting traded.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's why I just had to make sure. Okay,
I think so. I mean, I could check, but I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Julio Jones' contract.
Okay, so
anyway,
he's looking for a trade. Okay.
Anyway, yeah, the Pats, Bill Belichick, as we know, he's been an aggressive, he's the general manager too and the coach. And so that's probably something we could see. Julio Jones is on contract for this season, 2021 and 2022.
Okay, but
And
that's
potential, in 2023 too. So yeah, he still has years left on his
okay.
contract.
But which is very interesting with this is because if you look at the Patriots matchup, like how well would Julio fit on this team?
I think really
Like
well.
really well, because if you look at the contracts that Pat signed, most of those players are like 3-4 year contracts. Like
Yep.
they're pretty old vets, and you could tell Bill Belichick wants to go for the chip, right? Because you
Yep.
just saw Tom Brady win when he's like,
And he
okay,
made a
fuck you,
lot of
Tom.
questionable signings too. A lot of people didn't like
Exactly,
some
but
of
if
the signings.
you
He
get
spent a little too
Julio
much money.
Jones,
Yeah.
you get Julio Jones on this team, and you have Cam Newton, right? Like this is a Super Bowl
I
contender
like you
for
say
sure.
Cam Newton. You say Cam Newton. I say Mac Jones.
Oh, you think Mac Jones?
I think
Okay,
Mac.
fair.
If they get Julio, I think they're gonna want Mac Jones because
Yeah,
you don't want
to
Cam
throw.
Newton.
Yeah, exactly.
Why would
I
you
know
want
what you
Cam
mean.
Newton? This guy.
I know. I
This
know
guy
what you
runs.
mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah,
But
I think Mac Jones for sure would be their starting quarterback if they get Julio Jones somehow.
and people, you can't forget like Julio Jones. This guy's like what, top 5 best wide receiver all time. Right now, he's consistently a top 3
In
wide
the league
receiver
for
in the
sure.
league
Yeah.
every season. Like for a couple, almost a decade now. Like this guy is good. Like Julio Jones.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
if you want like a good wide receiver, like complete wide receiver, DK Metcalf, like 1 point, like the original DK Metcalf is Julio Jones, man. Like this guy is like, he's a beast. Like he doesn't have any weaknesses.
Yep. No, for sure. I think with all the signs Bill Belichick made and the players that are coming back, because remember, there were a lot of players that backed out of this season because of COVID. A lot of good players like was it I'm forgetting the name. Defensive Hightower or something like that. I forget his name.
For which team?
I forget the Pats. He backed
Stephon
out
Gilmore.
no,
No, not Gilmore.
No, another one. But a really good defensive player. He backed out of the season.
Yeah,
He's coming
yeah.
back. I forget his name. It's boggling my mind, but we don't have time to look it up. But anyway, they know who I'm talking about. But a lot of players are returning that were there 2 years ago when the Pats were competitive.
Yeah.
They don't have Tom Brady, but hopefully Mac Jones. I really do think this guy should be the starting quarterback if they do trade for Julio Jones, because that team could be a playoff bound team if they get Julio Jones. I think so. But other options there's still other options available. Another one I thought about, the Cleveland Browns. Eric, the Cleveland Browns, Baker Mayfield, they got Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, and add Julio Jones to that wide receiving group. I mean, the Browns look even dangerous, or even more dangerous than they did last year.
I don't think he's going to the Browns just because of the Browns. Like I just don't like the Browns. Like I'm a Steelers fan, so I don't like the Browns to start with, and I just don't think Browns are the organization you want to go if you want to win a chip. I'm not going to the Browns if I want a chip. Like, why would I go to the Browns? It's the Browns, and they already have a bunch of wide receivers. And Baker Mayfield, look at all these wide receivers he has, and the running is their main strong point on their team. Like, look at all these wide receivers he has, and Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb are carrying this team. Like,
hopefully, as we know, Baker Mayfield has been inconsistent early on in his career. He had a great season last year, but hopefully he can keep that up, because if he goes back to his normal ways 2 years ago, there's going to be some problems in Cleveland for sure with his interceptions and all that. But another team, Eric, the 49ers, of course. I mean, everyone has this team. Shanahan, he was the Falcons offensive coordinator between 2015 2017. That's another guy who can come in for Trey Lance Jr., who I think is the starting quarterback coming up.
Sure.
So, yeah, just obviously the connection, that's probably ideal for Julio Jones. I think he'd want to maybe reunite with his offensive coordinator that he knows, but still other teams. But yeah, that would be a really good matchup if he goes to the 49ers for sure.
But yeah, the only thing with these, it's kind of giving me like DeAndre Hopkins vibes, right? Like a very good wide receiver, one of the elite wide receivers in the league, going to a team with like either a sophomore or like a very young quarterback, right? And that's the thing, like if I was a wide receiver looking for chip, like I don't know if I'd want to go to I'd want to go to a pretty proven quarterback, and I wouldn't want to go to but it did work out with Arizona for sure. Like DeAndre Hopkins has been playing great for them, so I'm very interested to see what's gonna happen. But is there any more teams you got on the list?
Oh yeah, for sure. I got two more. The Colts, Eric, as we know, Carson Wentz was traded to the Colts as the quarterbacks. As we know, though, the Colts not really much threat when it comes to the wide receiver group,
Yeah,
as we know.
exactly.
And this was a team that was fighting for the playoffs. They had a positive record. They just missed out though. And so someone like Julio Jones could definitely help them
Oh
out,
yeah, for
especially
sure.
with their young running back core, which
Yeah,
seems to be
yeah,
shaping out really nice for them.
yeah,
To add Julio Jones to make that wide receiver group even more
yeah,
dangerous, because it was kind of mediocre last
yeah,
season. I mean, and Carson Wentz. Hopefully, I think Carson Wentz playing in Indianapolis, the pressure's off. Instead of where he was in Philadelphia, definitely a big market team over there in
exactly. Yeah,
Philadelphia. A lot of pressure didn't work out. Here in the Colts, I think the pressure's off his shoulders. You know, the
yeah,
monkey's off the back. He's just
exactly.
gonna go there. He's gonna play football. He's gonna do his thing. I think he's gonna have a bounce back season, Carson Wentz.
But don't forget, Colts defense always been one of the best in the
Yep.
league. Like, even last year, they had a very good defense. So literally, all they've been missing, they have Michael Pittman Jr. Who's he's not like he's okay, right? I like Michael Pittman Jr. But they have Carson Wentz. They have who's like he was proven and then got unproven,
Yeah.
right? Like, he was very
People
like
are comparing him to Tom Brady that rookie season.
exactly. But then after like he started like I
Yeah.
don't even know what happened last year. That was I
I
don't know
have
what
no
happened.
clue.
I don't know, but the running backs are really good. What's his the Taylor, huh?
Yeah,
Is that
Taylor, yeah.
Taylor they have, who's their star running back. But if they get a Julio Jones, like that'd be
I mean,
really
that'd be a
good
great.
for.
I don't
Oh
think
yeah,
the
for
Colts
sure.
would be like I don't know if Julio would want to go there because I don't know if the Colts would
Exactly,
be
exactly.
an exact winning team, but the Colts would definitely be more competitive than they were last
But
year.
don't
For
forget,
sure.
you're saying about a trade here, so Julio doesn't exactly get to decide where he goes, right? If it's a
I don't
trade,
know I don't know much about his contract. He has no
Mhm.
movement or anything like that. But
Okay.
he definitely wants out. So I don't know if he gets to waive or choose
Mhm.
or whatever like
Yeah,
that. But
exactly.
we'll just have to see. As my last team, the Oakland Raiders.
Okay.
Eric, John Gruden, as we know, just like Bill Belichick, he has no problem bringing on disgruntled
Okay.
stars. He brought on Antonio Brown, just like Bill Belichick,
Yep.
after the Pittsburgh Steelers. Didn't play a game for the Oakland Raiders,
Yep.
but John Gruden, this Oakland Raiders team, it's time to get competitive, right? Last year we saw a glimpse of it. They were pretty competitive. Hopefully they figure out their quarterback situation because I don't think Derek Carr's the guy for
Yeah,
them.
definitely not. Yeah.
So hopefully maybe Aaron Rodgers comes in and oh my God, we trade for Julio Jones and oh my
Yeah.
yeah, Aaron Rodgers, Julio Jones in Oakland. Yeah, that looks like a pretty good team,
Exactly,
the
yeah.
Oakland Raiders with Josh Jacobs at running back. So that was another team on my list that I could see potentially Julio Jones going to for sure.
Okay, fair.
To make them competitive there for sure because the Raiders, like I said, we saw a glimpse of it last year and hopefully this year they can get even more competitive. Hopefully they can get into the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes and
Exactly.
I would love to see Aaron Rodgers in Oakland. Would love that.
Oh yeah. Okay, but even without Aaron, don't forget they still have Josh Jacobs.
I mean, not Oakland. I'm sorry, Las Vegas. Las Vegas.
Yeah, exactly. My bad. The Raiders, they have Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
They have Waller on the tight end,
Yeah, the
great
tight
tight
end.
end. They even have Henry Ruggs, who he hasn't played that well, but still, like they lost Nelson Aguilar to Pats. But don't forget, Julio Jones would fit really well on this team, if I'm being honest. And a team that I think you're missing out, or I don't know if you're missing out, but or maybe it's because I heard it
let
today.
Me know. Here we go.
Nick Dawson's talking about the Dallas Cowboys, but I don't think they're
good. Let's take a second here. Let's talk about the undisputed where Shannon Sharp called Julio Jones, said, "Listen, are you going? Do you want to come? Are you leaving Atlanta or are you going to somewhere to win like Dallas or something like that?" Julio Jones actually laughed at it. The idea of him.
That's what I was trying to tell Dallas.
Yeah.
They already have a bunch of wide receiver. Why would they want Julio Jones?
Julio Jones, and even then, Dallas. Eric, I've said this for years. Dallas will never win a Super Bowl as long as Jerry Jones is their general manager.
Really?
They will never win.
Well,
they will never win because you cannot have a super fan as your general manager, Eric. You can't. You gotta have a guy.
I hope
Jerry Jones is a super fan. I mean, you know how he started as well.
Yes,
you know how he started as well? Car dealerships, Eric. Car dealerships. This guy was a car dealership guy. Finally got the wealth, bought the Cowboys at a discount when they were worth nothing, and built the team to become the most expensive franchise in the league. So he's a super fan. He has no track record of NFL experience or previous. He's a super fan in the general manager position. They will never win as long as he's general manager. You can't convince me otherwise.
I hope this doesn't get clipped for you. Like
I hope this is posted on it. I hope Terry clips this and I'm posting it on the Instagram because I want everyone to know how I feel about Jerry Jones.
Damn. Okay.
But
I know it was like that.
we'll have to keep looking into the Julio Jones sweepstakes as things will probably heat up come the NFL season, Eric. But as always, we have to thank the viewers and listeners for watching and listening to another
made it
episode.
This far too, yeah.
Yeah, another episode of the Chtib Zhang Show, episode 21. We'll be back for episode 22 next week. Most likely, the following weeks, probably gonna be talking about NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs again. That's what's going on in sports right now is the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
So we're most likely going to be talking about the second.
And by the way, Carolina won 3-2. Just to throw that out there. Yeah.
So there you go. That's a big win by Carolina because if Nashville stole that game in Carolina, they were winning in Nashville. I'll tell you right
exactly.
Now. This game, this series could potentially go 7 games, Eric. Yeah. We'll have to see, obviously, in Game 6. But again, thanks
Thank you so
for
much.
watching and listening. Once again, we'll see you next week. Thanks again. Peace.